evening, or afternoon rather. Welcome to the People's Verdict, your program that discusses current affairs, especially to national development. And my guest on the program, he is part of the UPND Alliance, and he is Mr. CASSIUS AKAPELWA. He's not new on the CAMNITA screens. We have been interacting on various developmental issues. Mr. AKAPELWA, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Soko, and good evening, viewers.
We are happy that you could find time to be with us in the studio to discuss topical national matters.
Thank you very much.
Interesting. Now, dear viewers, we can interact via a text message on our social media platforms, as well as calling us on the number in case you want to join the conversation, which we have themed tackling teething developmental issues. And my guest will help me discuss these teething issues. Getting started, we'll start on the political aspect, and talking about politics. First of all, we have to understand, Mr. AKAPELWA, you have been among the people who have been speaking for the UPND Alliance, especially before the UPND Alliance formed government. I want to find out, what is the status of that alliance? Is it a gone issue?
Well, I think there hasn't been any political statement as regards to if the alliance has broken down or not. First of all, we are basically saying the alliance is still intact, and as a matter of fact, I think we are here representing the UPND Alliance. So I know that there are a number of doomsayers who would wish to see the alliance break, but we're basically saying that we are intact and we are moving forward because we believe that the vision that we vision into President Hakainde Hichilema is that of that which situation as a current status quo right now would be. But what is imperative for now is to focus on the future. Yes, there's a moment which is grappling with a number of issues, but as an alliance, the fact that we believe in this man, President Hakainde Hichilema, the alliance is intact and is guiding us well.
Interesting. Now that you've given us your perspective on the alliance, so far you are among those people who are foot soldiers lobbying for voters to support the UPND. Now, are you happy with how the UPND is governing this far?
Well, I think to be truthful enough, along the way there's been some teething problems. However, we are basically saying that where there's leadership, you have challenges along the way. And those challenges are that which sometimes are necessitated with learning, okay? Because you expect such situations when there's change of government. But you see, the fact of the matter is that the people that turned up in numbers to usher into this leadership into office, to preside upon their welfare, are too expected to a point that they want deliverables tomorrow, or rather now, should I put it in that context.
Exactly.
So we are basically saying there are challenges, yes, and those challenges are economical challenges. It's a fact, because look, we are found in communities, we are found on the streets. This is what we are getting. So proper leadership has to get feedback. What is it that the people are saying? So, but what is good is that there's hope. And this hope is so much alive. Because it's a new government trying to put up certain policies here and there, and then trying to ensure that the aspirations of the people are met. It's working hard and working harder till we get where we're supposed to get. I think this is a point at which we are at right now.
Interesting. One of the assurance of the United Party for National Development Administration while in opposition, and even when the UPND formed government, was the aspect of creating a conducive political environment. And that's doing things better than the previous administrations, including the PF, handled national affairs. Now, let's look at the political environment. The President Hichilema has on several occasions made a pronouncement on the need to ensure that there is no political victimization. And we are seeing, however, we are seeing that there has been quite a number of cases on arrest of opposition political parties. Do you think that would be tantamount to what was happening under the PF administration? Or what would be your perspective on that?
Well, I think in comparative terms, in wanting to say there's political victimization.
Yeah, because before you further respond, there's been the aspect of where we've seen the PF aspiring President Chishimba Kambwe is among the latest victims.
The question is, what did he do?
Give me
what did he say? Look, we know that democracy is too noisy. But in as much as it's noisy in that perspective, we have to be cautious. The noise that you are making, is that of team building, or the noise that you are making, is that seeking attention? The noise that you are making, is it that of vindictiveness? The noise that you are making in that democracy, is it that is of divisive noise? Now, in that context, the Zambian people now have matured in areas of analysis. Look, are you telling me, Mr. Soko, that President Hakainde Hichilema is involved in whatever that is happening?
That's what your political opponents will be saying, and that's what they are saying.
The backstop, I know for sure that stops at President Hakainde Hichilema. But you need to understand that there's separation of powers here. The police is now independent, as it were. Okay? I know it's a very thorny issue, but I want to be very categorical here. Sometimes let us be very cautious in as want to, even as much we want to attract political attention. Or rather, you can't be orchestrating political divisive positions in this country. We are a united nation. As we are, anyone who comes in to divide us in areas of tribal settlements, you are meted by law. You cannot stand on any platform and start feeling and thinking that you are more superior than the law. No. So, when the police are investigating on a matter, the best thing is that you present yourself, they interrogate, and if they find the case in that perspective, you should be answerable. But what we've seen amongst our political players is that they are conducting a politics that is full of hammer and vindictiveness, which is very sad. And these are people that even up to now, they're in a coma. They cannot just come to terms that the person that they were demonizing is the president. You can't defy nature. You get my point? What is happening right now is that we just need to accept the position that the president is Hakainde Hichilema. In as much as we are parading people and the imperatables, we have to be very conscious that true leadership should that of leadership that offer objective political statements. You get my point? We can tell. Look at my colleague. You can tell even when it goes on any media platform. You can tell from the lips, it's bitterness. From the eyes, it's bitterness. From the statements, it's full of hammer and anger. Now, then you then get to wonder, what is causing this whole thing? Is failure to believe and understand and that there was a person who was victimized to so much extent that he did not at any given time a thought of it that would be president of this country. So it's killing them. It's eating them up. But my plea counsel to them is that let us offer political objectivity even as we try to get to the top of leadership. Because there is only one president once at a time. But what we're experiencing right now is a very sad state of affair. My brother, when I look at you, you're my brother. When you look at me, automatically I should just be your brother. The first thing that brings confusion is when you now start thinking you are more superior than I am, or you feel your tribe is more superior than the other. Then we're having a problem. What is happening right now is nothing but tribal politics. It's a fact. You understand? It's a fact. You can even see it. Okay? People have regrouped to fight that which God has said at this moment.
You mean the group was disbanded at some point?
Which group was disbanded?
The group that is regrouping.
No. What we are basically saying is that regrouping in the sense that you can tell that even those that did not mean well to the other, they are showing sympathy in an instance to show that no, the other party can't do this to that party. Because if you look at Chilufya, he made sure that Shimbakambwiri goes to jail. And today is sympathizing with him. And is saying it's political machination. So you then wonder, if there's any sense of reasoning in certain individuals, where today you are fighting the same colleague on the basis of hatred. Tomorrow you go around and you want to cover up and show a different face. It's a very sad. This kind of politics does not inspire young people. This kind of politics will not inspire even the women that want to be part of this political arena.
With all that we have said, Mr. AKAPELWA, would you be in a position to say in the country we have a strong opposition that is giving credible checks and balances to the UPND administration?
The categorical answer there is that the political atmosphere that we have right now is none other politics that is full of vindictiveness and hatred. Nothing else. There's no objectivity on the political platform. You understand? Everyone that is coming on a political, you can see it's just pure hatred. And you can tell that there are serious problems, especially from the part of the opposition. Okay? So, we need to start gravitating from this thing called hate to more or less like divergent views, where you should be able to distinguish what I'm trying to put across is that of advisory nature or is hatred, because it's a failure to just believe and understand that there's only one president at the time. You see, this is why you find that, have you ever heard even President Hakainde Hichilema respond to some of these utterances? He doesn't. You get. But so we're trying to clean up the processes of the political climate, but it seems others, I don't know what kind of families they come from.
Interesting. Our dear viewers, in case you are just joining us, you have not missed much. We are in conversation with UPND Alliance member, Mr. CASSIUS AKAPELWA, discussing a topic tackling teething developmental issues, and we have been able to digest some of the critical issues. Now, going forward, I would also want to get your perspective, Mr. AKAPELWA, on the issue of, we have quite a number of topical matters, and key among those is the aspect of the high cost of living, which many Zambians in various communities have been complaining about. The high cost of living. This administration was voted into office to among other things, make sure that Zambians are able to afford 3 decent meals per day as per campaign promise of the UPND Alliance. Now, Zambians still feel that the high cost of living, there's been a high cost of living under the UPND administration, and they are now comparing with the previous administration, being the Patriotic Front. What would be your perspective on this? Should Zambians still continue to exercise patience over this?
I think you will realize that from my preamble, I did make it very clear that along the way there are some teething problems, and economically we have a number of challenges. It's a fact, and that's what is obtaining on the ground. So here, we are basically saying what has necessitated all these challenges. The fact of the matter is that, look, we have, I think it's in plain black and white, that the UPND government adopted an economy that was so much burdened with debt. Even you, Mr. Soko, here, even if you owed somebody 5,000 kwacha and they are threatening you every time to come here, you will never have peace. All that you'll be focusing on is to clear that debt. So you cannot survive economically with the debt that was over 20 million US dollars, which has to be make sure that that debt is paid. So in that's why you're seeing government officials are busy trying to talk about debt structuring and all that kind of.
But they continue to borrow also.
They'll continue to borrow because, look, it depends with the kind of borrowing. There's that borrowing that is probably, that is attracting a far much a percentage, and that which is probably 0%, 0 point something percent. Of course, you can't run an economy in that sense without considering that there are other partners that would want to come in and borrow money. So that is a process to governance where certain economies, they'll come in and say, we can facilitate for this particular project. Hence, we're giving you so much. But you negotiate. What is there is to negotiate at a lower debt. Now, our colleagues from the previous regime, their kind of borrowing was that of, today, they are saying we borrowed and we're able to show you where these infrastructures are. Fine. We do take recognition for the fact that you borrowed. But this kind of borrowing, it was so much to a point that the borrowing with the higher percentage, there were no negotiation skills that were attached to it. But the bottom line here is that in as much as you put so much money that you borrowed in infrastructure, already what we're experiencing right now, most of the roads are being washed away. You understand? So muzapezeka mwabasoko kuti mwa borrowing 5 million.
Yes.
Road each the cost 1.5 million. But mukayangana pa paper pali 5 million. Then manje oja muntu contractor oja mwapaza kuti asenzele pali road ija road mdala ija because imwe mwachita inflate figure pa paper.
Exactly.
What will happen is that uja ni business person. Uja ni businessman. So every azami pasa quality according to what you are negotiating. So every instead yakuti mumpasa mwamuza tifaka figure ya so 5 million but mumpasa 1.5 million. Azami pangira road ya 1.5 million. So mu road muzapakisa visand na kushita lesen up cement.
Are you insinuating that they were getting a lot of kickbacks?
Boss, it's a fact of the matter at hand. It's the reason why you see that most of these roads are being washed away because they are not quality roads. So you put up a road worth for the money, value for money. Most of these roads were overpriced, and then a reason why contractor mdala azafaka pochavi visand. All of a sudden, imwe road because boss, we have roads. Mukushi Kapiri Road. That road has existed for more than 50 years. All that they do is to do a few patch-ups. Why? Danida, at the time, did a quality job, and the road has stood the test of time. Why should the road that was called go ring road, talk your way? That road is less than 7 years. Go there, my brother. It's a hump pothole after. They are no longer potholes. What we are experiencing there now is Nivimi God. And then you want to come and tell me that you put in so much money, and looking at the nature of that road, it's a busy road, within 5 years, it's impossible. So, and you look at, attach that to the figures involved. So, we have to be serious with this whole thing. It's a reason why that the Ndola, let me come to that, the Lusaka Ndola Road, the same contractor the same contractor akamba tija fee guy jabanani patikiza chabe kuti nkale fee guy, I'm ready to have it. So you can tell that most of these things were being overpriced. So from this perspective, as a citizen of this country, who at least, if even maningi, but we are knowledgeable about these other things, that even when you look at things, you will see to say, apa, batinama, batigonga. So that when people are talking, look, we cannot move forward without addressing the experiences we've had in the past. When people come and say, why are you focusing on the past? Who does that? Just because the lady looks beautiful, she glows every time when she smiles, you are not even focusing on how she's been, where she's coming from. Then experience. Then do you have even a little bit of her history? Who are you going to blame? So even as you move from that experience, because then you've realized even as you move forward, you will have learned from history. So then you perfect the future.
But Zambians have argued that 23 years in opposition, the UPND would have learned how to solve these problems. It is no wonder Zambians gave them a mandate to actually provide solutions to these problems, Mr. AKAPELWA.
I hear you, sir. But let me tell you, experience is the best teacher. So they say. Okay? Look, it's different to be in the terraces and to be in the playing field. Fine, opposition for 23 years. Were they in government? No. The process of learning is a process. The process of starting to implement is another process. So here, there's been two processes. The processes of learning about governance issues, as it were, in opposition, opposing, yes, face the challenges as they come. Certain things, you just watch them from the terraces. Put you in the football playing field. Or there could be a situation where, as in first of all, you need to know and understand the moves. And the UPND has just been in government in 1.5 years. The mandate is 5 years. So as we move forward, it's too early to even pass judgment. Boss, even the pregnancy takes 9 months to feed the baby, to get to start teaching the baby.
But Zambians want the signs.
There are no signs that the future is alive? Are you sure, Mr. Soko?
They are not seeing. They're seeing pronouncements that are going against their will. I'm giving you an example of the fuel prices. The fuel prices have continued to be revised upwards by the Energy Regulation Board, and Zambians are saying, why are you revising every month? Because you are disturbing our planning, and that most of us are not managing, for instance, to pay for bus fares, are not managing to cope up with the high cost of production as a result of the high fuel prices. But what would you have to say about that?
So now, look, we are all experiencing the same economic challenge, especially matters to do with the energy sector. This has a negative bearing in economic growth. It's a fact. But the real sense of the matter here is that, do we control the global situation on energy? And do you think that the president would so wish to punish his own people but rising the fuel prices? And if we've done a research, you as a journalist, tell me which country is reducing the fuel prices, even just here in Southern Africa.
The argument has been that Zambia is having, amongst other countries, the highest fee compared to other countries.
Is that true? Is that a fact?
Partly yes, because Zambia's price cannot be compared to Angola, Mr. AKAPELWA.
Angola produces fuel.
But why is not Zambia enhancing the partnership?
It's a reason why just a few weeks ago, the president was in Angola trying to lobby. This is what I'm saying. Growing the economy is a process. You can't just adopt a government that you have found with a number of challenges. Mind you, that President Hakainde Hichilema has a vision for this country. It's not an adopted vision. Like others who come and tell you to say, no, in Nzashita because independent sira bamdara. So, ni real movie, you understand? where we are saying, let us help this man. At present moment, sometimes it's better to start hard as it is now. Zambia is not the first time that we're experiencing this. We experienced this under President Mwanawasa on the hippie completion. Maybe Mr. Soka Pera was in grade 7. If it ends business, we experienced this before. And after 2-3 years, signs started showing. By the time we were getting to the 4th year, boss, I used to travel to South Africa 3 times a month, because then the demand for the things that I was bringing in the country was that I have to push, bring. So, we've gone through this before. This is a man who has dedicated all his time or doing work, duty. He's dedicated his time even when he travels out of the country. You can see his delegation. Stinaonepo paliponsa atilelo, bachoka kupati. Flashy of champagnes.
On the same argument, now that you bring that up, Mr. Akapero, Zambians have argued to say our President Hichilema did criticize his predecessor, Edgar Lungu, for making those foreign trips regularly. And Zambians are still raising the same concern to say, if it was bad under PF, it should be bad under UPND.
Okay. Boss, it depends the reasons why you are traveling. And what is it that you're trying to bring to the country?
You mean the previous administration was traveling for fun?
But you saw it. Much of it was pleasure. You saw it, Isoko. You are a journalist, my brother. You saw it. Have you seen any photos trending anywhere that President Hakainde Hichilema was partying the previous night? Or on his table of a meal, there is any sort of a party meal? We have not seen that. This is a man who means serious business. There, look, mine is not only to defend. I can only defend something that makes sense. You understand? And for some of us, we are driven with a certain intuition to defend, or rather talk about something that is sensible enough. I know people are talking. The question is, this man, why is he traveling around like this? He's even told us that he's a chief marketing officer for this country. I want people to come and judge his travels. We should come and hold him accountable. Bwana, you went to this country, what did you bring for us? You went to this country, what did you bring for us? You went to this country, do you think he's just traveling for pleasure? The question there is, and the answer is no. For me, I would want him, after this period that he's been traveling, the Zambians should now come and, we're at liberty. The good part of democracy is that you have a liberty, because it comes on media platforms. You should be the first person to ask the president, what did you bring for us?
Interesting enough that when they go there, even the previous administration, they do sign memorandum of understandings. Now, those memorandum of understanding, most of them have not come to fruition. And we in Zambia, because we see that Zambia would say under the previous administration, but this administration is just new in terms of signing these memorandum of understanding. But Zambians are also asking the question that we want these commitments to come to fruition, and also give some of the commitments that we're committing the country to, also consult Zambians, because some commitments are quite sensitive, and Zambians.
Where was the president recently?
Senegal.
Okay.
Before Senegal was in Angola, and then Abu Dhabi.
Do you know that we have visitors that have just come from Abu Dhabi? Now, in case I want to take you back, I've put up something here. When he was in the USA,
yes,
they signed up some investment program on renewable energy, which is $460 million US. So we should be able to come and ask the president, Munasai Naija MOU, Yabuela or Sinabuela? No, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, viewers. $30 million US under USAID.
Yes.
That was signed to say, we are coming under USAID to put on Genesamon Daramais. Okay? Then as he was in Abu Dhabi,
yes,
$2 billion on renewable energy.
Yes, the solar project.
We should be able to come and ask him, bwana munasayina ja MOU ibwera lit. For me, I believe in this man is a very practical man. So to start gagging and judging him now because of the name of democracy, I think as Zambians will be very unfair to this man. What we are supposed to be doing now as Zambians is to say, Mr. President, what you are doing, we are watching you. We'll come and hold you accountable after this period in time. So the next time that you have conversations with him, you should be able to ask him questions to say, we've given you a lot more time and money for your travels, for your trips. Mr. President, give us the time frame at which we will now start the processes of implementation on your foreign trips. Because muntu aenda sakila ziko yamene yakuti we have all these things, but we are having some challenges, then he's going to outsource. So let us give him the space and chance in time to see what he's going to bring for us. Or rather, to see now that what he went to lobby for us,
yes,
when does he start to implement them?
Interesting. Now, while we are still on the aspect of things that are topical, that Zambians are complaining on, I would also want to get your perspective on the mini meal price, because Zambians have also been concerned to say this administration did assure us of cheaper mini meal. Now, Zambians are buying a 25 bag of mini meal as high as 200 kwacha, Mr. AKAPELWA, and Zambians think it is too much. Are they wrong for making such a demand, given that it was among the campaign promises?
A few days ago, FRA offloaded 460 million, offloaded 152,000 metric tons of maize. I don't know why I didn't begin like 460 million. I think it's a panga maningi ndarama mziko mo. So FRA offloaded 152,000 metric tons of maize. And they had an understanding with the millers to say, colleagues, what is happening here? Now we are giving you cheaper maize. Can you please do what you have to do so that we lower the price? And in most of these outlets, they've started the reduction.
Yes.
So sometimes you are meant to understand why the price was skyrocketing. But again, there's a question that is hovering around to say, Manje Imwe, do you think there will be a reduction when in the actual sense the prices of fuel are going up? These are negotiations that we are trying to get. So let us see, after that pronouncement has been made by FRA, that we are very optimistic that there will be a reduction in the minimum prices. This whole thing is eating us all. You understand? No one takes pleasure in buying an expensive staple food.
Yes, we understand that miri meal is Zambia's staple food, and miri meal has been a political subject for a long time. Since time immemorial, even under the United National Independence Party, UNIP, up to the previous administration. It is one of the reasons why Zambians had to say no to the PF, because they did find a miri meal at 45 kwacha and 35 kwacha. Under the MMD, but the price did skyrocket to the previous price that Zambia had to say no, it is too much under the UPND. Now we cannot be stuck as a country in terms of finding solutions to making sure that the staple food is cheaper. What other alternatives, Mr. AKAPELWA, would you recommend in terms of implementation, such that when they are taken on board, we can be able to stabilize the price of the staple food? Others have suggested that probably Zambia should also take serious matters of national food security by empowering the ZNS with milling plants. Others have suggested that the key is to rise in Zambia, increasing its tonnage in terms of production of mini meal. Now, what would be your perspective on this subject?
First of all, I think this is where Minister of Agriculture, they have to literally make sure that investment in an agriculture sector should be priority. A staple food umdala, should not be a challenge to buy. We shouldn't be going through that process. It should be easily accessible. Okay? It should be actually a right that somebody has 3 meals in a day. Now, But you see, a few days ago, I reckon that the president said, if we are going to have similar glitches like we had last year, of delaying in distribution of farming implements, then we don't know. But I can assure the nation, he said that, I can assure the nation that what we went through last year was a process to a good thing for the future, which this year will not experience it again. So I'm told there will be no importation of farming inputs. So what that means is that it means there will be an investment policy where all those players that are into fertilizer production should now be involved in mass production of fertilizer, and the distribution process should start as early as August, so that we do not have these challenges in the farming distribution program. Now, if we can do much investment, and especially on a diversification program, because some of us, if it might take 2-3 days, yeah. So if we can try to a bit diversify and then invest so much into rice production, wheat production, you realize that we will no longer be so dependent on a maize meal. What is so sad in this country is that we are so much dependent on maize meal. Reasons being, it's a staple food. But its mindset changed, and it takes government to start cultivating that knowledge in its people. Because when we do that, believe you me, we'll have alternative sources of meals. So that if you can't eat Nshima, you probably think rice is a better meal. But if we just focus to say, Pakache milis, we are going to, when we have a challenge like this, what will happen? Because there are certain crops that can even survive.
When the vice president was talking about diversifying the staple food, it did bring a lot of debate. I understand that the institutions like the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection have been talking about us diversifying the country's staple food in terms of having a mixture, making sure that we enhance rice production, like you put it earlier, talking about wheat production and other things. Now, the thing is that we are not proactive when we're not talking about this meal issue. So the concern has been, why, when the prices are okay and everything is okay, why not talk about the aspect of nutrition of Laura meal? But you talk about the nutrition about Laura meal as because Zambians are at the point when Zambians feel like struggling to get a breakfast meal. So what would be your perspective on that, Mr.
The good part is that everyone in this country has become a politician, whereas in every statement is regarded as politics. But of course, if you see what the Vice President was trying to say was, as we are complaining about the prices of meal, a breakfast meal, boss, even you, when you're having economic challenges in your own home, that mukangiwa certain things. The only thing that you can do there is now to adjust. Let's say, for example, you can no longer afford to put fuel in your car. You get my point. If it's cheaper to get on a Yango, you try to calculate what you spend on fuel per month, and then you try to calculate what it would be using a Yango or any other alternative transport. You adjust how things are getting tougher. As we speak right now, economically things are tough. So she was basically trying to say, fine, if we cannot afford to buy a bag of breakfast, which is at so much, and there's this one, which is at so much, after all, you should not demonize it. Reasons are that in its state, as cheap as it is, or rather affordable as it is, it's got nutritional values. So as it is cheaper, it's also got nutritional values. But you know, breakfast.
Exactly.
And even if we pass a roller meal, you protest. But maybe the timing, you've moved to roller meal.
A long time ago.
A long time ago.
Yeah,
so you see,
as a nutrition advocate.
of course, yeah. See, so if even I'm going so you realize that. But that statement was a media frenzy, and there was an uproar. You know, we started comparing it to Kandolo and all that kind of thing. But you see, democracy is too noisy. So this is where we find ourselves. And people will talk, even when somebody meant well. It was basically trying to give an advisory council to the citizens. The mother is telling their children to say, ngati simukwanisa apa alternative channel, because the reason why munga jiva so it's because you benefit from such things. But hey, man, this is where we are now. We're even talking about it.
Interesting. Our dear viewers, you are watching The People's Verdict, and in conversation I have with me UPND Alliance member Mr. CASSIUS AKAPELWA, and our topic of discussion is themed tackling teething developmental issues. We have discussed a wide range of issues that are topical in the country, and we thank you for following the proceedings. Now, Mr. AKAPELWA, I want to also get your perspective. One of the aspects that has come out, especially as from our news crew, is that most youths in various localities feel sidelined in terms of empowerment. Youth empowerment is one component which the UPND administration also did assure the Zambians, and I just want to get what has been your observation, because we understand that not everyone can benefit from government programs, but the majority of those youths, especially those who feel entitled, have been complaining. Probably you have also privy to some of the voice notes that are making the rounds to say, Mwatire Kelera. Some of the youths are blaming UPND leaders, saying they have been selfish, they are not safeguarding the plight. So I just want to get your perspective. What is the better way of delivering this youth empowerment agenda?
What I've come to experience that, as regards to that question, Mr. Soko, is the major issue is that most of our colleagues that were elected in that office, they will distance themselves from their people. Because information flow should be easily accessible. And the civic leaders that are mandated to do that within our communities, most of them are not present. People are complaining. Okay? So, how then will our people get that information? Because you as community leaders are invisible. It's very dangerous. You need to be easily accessible, because these young people want to flock to your offices and give them that information and be given that guide on how they can access these CDF funds. Because when pronouncements are made, practically, people are supposed to feel the sense of belonging to that which has been pronounced. Okay? So you find that our people are complaining because most of our colleagues have stopped picking their calls. Most of our colleagues can't be accessed, even physically. So where will our people go? A reason people are complaining. So it's never too late, though. What is important now is that let's get back to the people and let the information flow smoothly so that people understand to the latter how they can access these funds. Because as we speak right now, there's somebody who's saying, me, I don't even know my councillor here, I don't even know where his office is, I don't even know my member of parliament here, I don't even know where his office is. I was at some constituency somewhere. Then I told him to say, you don't know area councillor. No, I don't know, but I voted for them. So already that is a problem. You get my point? So, but if in a community, because information flow is very easy nowadays. Because if the information flow is there to say, in fact, if you want to access CDF, or rather you want information, office of the councillor is there. Go there and get that information. It's very easy like that, because what people want is information how to access the CDF. Money is there sitting in these accounts. But the question is, the rigidity is like the president has always been putting it. That should be tighten up, loosen up a bit, so that people can easily access it. But again, government is equally careful. Do you just get this money and just give it away? Because it's not free money. Much of it, you get a loan, you start a business, you pay back. These are not handouts. So in as much as you want to focus on that, you should prepare your mind as well. What is it that you want to use that money for? You need to get the gist and understand that I'm accessing these funds because I want to start a business. I'm accessing these funds because then I want to, get to school. So there are all these guidelines that are there. But what is saddening is that elected officials in most of these communities are not accessible. So it's a challenge on its part. So I always say, it's never too late. A human being is not difficult. But let me just tell you the truth. I'm having some challenges, my brother. In as much as you are seeing me in this situation, I don't have money right now. Maybe try me this day. You understand? Rather than, Mr. Cassius, nipe pako 300 kwacha. Okay, unitumile kupa 14 hours. 14 hours comes, you are not picking my cause. What are you doing? Just tell the people the truth, and that which they can easily understand, easily access, that which can be managed. Guide the people. I think that's what we should be doing.
Could that verify Bowman Musambu was saying that the UPND very kwatasana akaso and they are running away from their people?
When he says very kwatasana akaso, but certain certain utterances, my brother, I usually labor. I don't like individualizing.
Yeah,
people.
but generally this concern is that what has been coming, and you did make a response to how leaders have to go back to the people. Because is it because we make a mistake when electing these leaders?
You see, my brother, the poverty levels in this country are too much. We're talking about more than 73%. People are living in squalor. So you need to understand that even the challenges that you face in communities are so intense, the intensity that you can't easily probably handle or rather pacify. So you realize that sometimes they run away from these challenges because the poverty levels are just too much, because it's every problem and after problem as you're seated there. So you need to understand. So, but you see, when the economy is growing, it will scale down to some of these challenges.
Yeah.
But as you are an elected official in a community, you should face these challenges head on.
Interesting.
You get my point?
But how important is the need to ensure that structures are put in place where people can be able to help themselves? Isn't that what leaders should also facilitate for?
Of course, this is why we should teach people how to fish, as in when they should start fishing. So the process to start teaching them how to fish is what is happening right now, because people were too familiar with handouts. Okay? We had situations where money is printed, just come and distribute. It's a reason why some monies were being bent. You understand? It's a reason why some monies, people just spread it and start jumping on the money. And people, bantu bakopa. So now what is happening now is that such things are no longer there. So this is now a legit economy, where if you don't push for a paycheck, when you will not eat. So it will now push people to now start looking for opportunities. So that even as you are getting paid, even if it's a little coin, even if it's 1,000, you utilize it prudently, jealously, because you know, I told for this man. Bwana nafika chapa na mpasa 2 million without no plan, because then you sang my song, you cleaned my shoe, you know that my rufuta and oni pass. So there was this culture. Now that process of transformation is not just about now, it's a process to it.
Your concluding remarks.
First of all, I want to appreciate your invitation, Cabinet and all-weather friend. So what we're basically saying is that the Zambian people, we have a process at which hope is still alive. Let us give space and chance to the UPND executive to do the deliverables. Some of the promises have been rendered to you. Now what is happening is that we now have a process at which the executive, cabinet, and the entire team in the UPND Alliance, focusing now on how to grow the economy, how to unlock all the unnecessary glitches. So, hope is still alive, and I believe so. And I want to then ask my fellow citizens that let us help this hard-working president achieve that which he promised his citizens. And I so believe that it will be achieved. With time, we'll be having a different topic of discussion on how much the economy will have grown. Hope is still alive, and keep the faith. Thank you very much.
According to Mr. CASSIUS AKAPELWA, hope is still alive. I don't know whether it is also your perspective, our dear viewers. Interesting. Thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we have come to the end of our discussion for today on the People's Verdict. Remember, we ask the question and you make the verdict. And our topic of discussion has been tackling teething developmental issues in the country. And my guest has been the UPND Alliance member, Mr. CASSIUS AKAPELWA. Until next week when we come with another interesting episode of the People's Verdict, this has been Patrick Soko. Keep it on Kamne TV. Remember, Kamne TV is not just another channel.